20.
Amy Goodman reports on the news stories rarely covered by the corporate media. Democracy Now!
A Food and Drug Administration advisory panel unanimously approved booster shots for the one-shot Johnson & Johnson vaccine. The second shot can be given as early as 2 months after the first dose. Federal regulators will now meet to decide whether to greenlight J&J and Moderna boosters.
Democracy Now! Weekday evenings at 11 on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
When it comes to Porsche, you'll find performance, power, and excitement in every model. And at Porsche Exchange in Highland Park, experience the thrill in our entire lineup. The Cayenne, Macan, Panamera, the 911, and the fully electric Taycan. Find which model calls to you and special order your Porsche with us today. The Porsche Exchange in Highland Park. Visit 4Porsche.com, the number 4, Porsche.com.
I'd like to welcome you to WCPT AM's Out Chicago. Think of us as Sunday brunch with your gay best friends. Now please welcome your host, Scott Duff.
And a happy Sunday fun day to everybody out there. Scott Duff here along with Ellen Miller.
Good morning, Scott.
Good morning and welcome to Out Chicago.
Welcome everybody on this beautiful sun.
It is gorgeous out.
It's warmish. It's not freezing.
It's not, well, no, of course it's not.
But it's about to pour rain for the next 24
87
hours.
Yeah, it's just, I know, I'm like, oh, dear lordy, lordy.
But get comfortable and listen to us.
I know, grab a cup of coffee.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing.
If that's your jam, you know, maybe a mimosa.
Or some lemon water, if that's your jam.
Oh, lemon water, that's always good.
That's
you
special.
know, there we are. Or the lemon cayenne water. Do you remember when people were doing that?
Yes, the diet cleansing
that
thing.
cleansing
Yeah, oh God,
thing?
yeah. I didn't fall for that.
Did you do that?
Heck no.
Oh, good. Thank you. Okay. Did you do that, Devin, at all?
Devin, he was like 10, and he was thin, and he still is.
I know even people who weren't.
Right, it was a cleansing thing.
It was a cleanse thing that just seemed like, ooh, whatever.
Boy.
Yeah. So I just did a hand gesture. I don't know if I could do that on Facebook, but
something extra.
Welcome to the show on this cloudy, rainy day.
Yes.
I know it was hard for me to get out of bed. I was just like, oh, it's
me too.
Cozy.
Me too. I prolonged it a little this morning, I have to admit.
I did too.
But there was good stuff on TV. I love that, this CBS This Morning, the Jane Pauley thing they had Bruce Springsteen and Barack Obama on.
That was on?
Jane Goodall was on. Yeah, it was a good people. They had a lot of good stuff on. Yeah.
Dr. Jane Goodall?
Mm-hmm.
I met her.
You did?
I did. When I was teaching, she came to speak at my school.
Oh, cool.
I don't know how we landed that because, she's the monkey lady. You know?
Yeah, she is. Yeah,
she's big and
she
huge.
is.
And we were able. She came to speak to our school, and it was so exciting.
I bet.
Her rider was very interesting because she has very specific things that she needs. For
whiskey.
Her.
She said she likes whiskey to help her vocal cords.
There was no whiskey that was involved because it was at a high school,
okay.
so there was no booze at all. But she wanted there needed to be like white tablecloths and like glassware and blah blah blah. I'm like, okay, cool, that's great. But then this is where I have to give like a tip of the hat to my students at St. George's in Collierville, Tennessee. They were all lined in the bleachers. They're here to see this incredible, like groundbreaking, scientist and conservation activist.
Yes,
and really, really great.
Activist, yeah.
And there, and the field house, because it was a fancy school. We didn't have a gym. We had a field house. It was packed with everybody, and parents were there. And Dr. Jane Goodall came out, and the first thing that she did, she went up to the microphone and she goes, ooh, 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 starts making these monkey sounds. And I'm like, what are you doing? No, Dr. Jane, don't do that. No. And I look over at the bleacher and the entire, student body population, they are not laughing, but they are stifling laughter so much that they are just shaking.
Oh my God, they're trying to be respectful.
She's like, they're trying to be respectful, and then she's like, that is the morning greeting of the jungle. And I'm like, oh no.
Here we go.
But it was great.
It went uphill from there.
It did go up, and it was a great way to kind of start. It was fun. And
she's a birthday buddy of mine.
Really?
Yeah, we share a
Look
birthday.
at all the birthdays you got going on
I
here.
have a
There we
bunch.
are.
It's crazy.
Yeah. But we've got a great show. I should tell you what's going to be happening
do
today.
that, Scott.
So 3 Arts, the Chicago-based nonprofit grant-making organization that supports women artists, artists of color, and deaf and disabled artists, announced the recipients of this year's awards. They're giving out, I think they're giving out almost $1 million this year.
Yeah, they are.
It's
yes, that's what
really
they do.
exciting, and we're going to be speaking with one of the recipients, musician and storyteller Shanta Narula. She plays the sitar
I saw.
primarily, and then but she
Love
puts
that.
a blues. I booked her mainly because of you. Because I was like, oh, she's a blues musician, but on the sitar.
Oh, I loved it.
I know. I
love
can't wait
that.
to find
Me
out
too.
more about her work and
Yeah.
how this this grant is. How wonderful that is.
They gave it to the right person. it
They
sounds
did.
like.
They did. And, each year the Chicago Humanities Festival brings together an impressive slate of writers, artists, and cultural figures in what Chicago Magazine's called an intellectual palooza. Mm-hmm. I love that. An
I do
intellectual
too.
palooza. An artist, Zakia Najiba Dumas O'Neill, who is part of a discussion during the Humanities Festival called Imagining Chicago's Future. She'll be joining us later. She's debuting a short video that we saw.
It's really cool. I watched it twice.
I know. It's gorgeous.
Moving and interesting. And cool.
Yeah. So we'll find out about her perspective of looking at the future by examining our past, and especially through the lens of a queer Black woman. So I think that's really awesome. And look, Halloween is coming up. 1 week from today, it's Gay Christmas, and Haven, a Chicago-based theater company, invites you to celebrate Halloween with science fiction double feature, a Rocky Horror Picture Party. I love Rocky Horror so
I do
much.
too. We used to
love
go
it.
all the time back in the day.
Me too. And artistic director Ian DeMont Martin is going to be joining us later on in the show to find out more information about that. Because we need some fun.
Let's have fun. Let's have the arts. Let's feel good.
Let's feel good. Yeah.
Spread the
and of
love.
course, we would love to hear from you and have some love from you. So give us a call at 773-763-9278. That number again is 773-763-9278. Of course, you can find us on Facebook where we are coming at you live. You can go to Out Chicago Radio on the Faceplace. And if you are so inclined, you can also check us out at WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk. And while you're at it, why not follow WCPT on all social media at WCPT 820 on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and the Tick and the Talks. There we are. How you doing, Ellen Miller?
I'm doing pretty well.
Yeah?
Yeah, it was a weird week.
It was a weird week.
It was just kind of the weather was a little gloomy some of the days, right? It got a little colder. I don't know. It was a weird week. I don't know what else to say about it.
Are you getting ready to get your hygge on? Is that what's...
Yeah. Yes. I see when the season.
The seasons change.
We've been lucky because it's felt like summer for like weeks. I mean, our plants. I'm still picking peppers and cucumbers, and I think it's the cucumbers finally came to an end. But we were literally picking things out of the garden last week still. And you see the end coming, and Thanksgiving is upon us. Oh my God, it's going to be here in a matter of weeks.
I know.
Just a few weeks. And last year, most of us, most of the responsible ones of us, had Thanksgiving by ourselves or the people within our homes. And I don't know what's going on this year. I don't know if, it's kind of up in the air. All the holidays are a little bit up in the air.
All the holidays are.
So it's just a little uncertain. I don't know what. I'm just feeling a little uncertainty. And I dipped my toe back into the news a little this week.
There was a lot happening going on.
Yeah, I had to. I mean, I here's what I decided. During a year ago, right now, we were a week away from an election, basically, 10 days away from an election, the big election. And we were all preoccupied. And it was like, news 24/7 and all the information and spreading the information. I was posting all the time, trying to change hearts and minds if I could,
Right.
And I just, like a lot of people I know, we're so overloaded between COVID and the Trump presidency that we just kind of have zoned away from watching the news all the time. A lot of us have.
Oh, there's definitely political fatigue that's
and,
happening.
And I came to the thing, like, you know what? I can't change any of it right now. I need to talk about it on my radio show. Yes, I need to talk about it intelligently. And there's enough that I get, but I just haven't been immersing myself like so many of us did. And but I dipped back in because there's been a lot going on. The Republicans are making me crazy again now that I'm paying attention again. I mean, continually. They continue to be obstructionists. They continue to be the party of no and the party of, like Kristen Sinema. She refuses to.
She's a Democrat, though.
I know, and I'm using hers. And then it gets. And then you got people like her who are, supposed Democrats who doesn't want to tax corporations or the very rich to pay for the climate, to pay for the infrastructure bill. And I'm like pulling my hair out again. You got Joe Manchin, who I guess what he used to be. Someone told me he used to be a furniture salesman before he was a senator. Did you know that?
No.
Yeah. He holds a handful of people holding all the cards when the majority of the country is for a woman's right to choose, is for climate change, helping with climate change, is for the infrastructure package. Yet we have these people holding us hostage, and it's starting to make me a little crazy again.
Oh, it's making me wackadoodle
How
as
about
well.
you?
How about me with what? With that? Well, no,
everything.
I had a crazy week.
Yeah.
I had a fun week. Well, first of all, congratulations to the Chicago Sky.
Oh, that was last Sunday.
That was last Sunday.
I was in tears. I watched every minute of it. We even rewound and watched it over again. The celebration. Actually, I was out on a walk and the game just ended, but I watched the whole fourth quarter. Kathy had seen it. She goes, I'll watch it again. And it was the way they came back and just the women doing their thing.
Sunday was like Women's in Sports Day because the NBA, the Chicago Sky captured the WNBA title.
Yes.
That was the first for Chicago, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So, we had, and Monday was a big parade.
Or
was it Monday?
Tuesday.
Tuesday was a parade, and it was Chicago Sky Day. But also Sunday, we had Simone Biles, my gal.
Yeah,
she was in
out
town.
Rosemont. Mm-hmm.
She was in town, so it's like women were doing
it. Felt good, yes. I just love those women players. I was watching that celebration as much as I could on Tuesday. I had to go to a dental appointment, but just seeing the women celebrating and their mothers. Were interviewed of several of them in the Pride, and it's just we don't see that very often. We just see men doing it.
I know, because we don't pay attention to women's sports.
No, and we're going to pay. Kathy and I made a vow. We're going to go to some Sky games, and we're going to bring our friends, and we are going to support.
Yeah, because they're kicking butt.
Yeah, they are, and I'm sorry to be a bandwagon person, but it is what it is.
Well, no, but it's okay to be a bandwagon person. Here we are. We've got to. If the only way to draw attention
is to be a winner.
Is
sometimes.
to be a winner and be like, oh, we should go support this team.
Or be competitive,
I still have a weird thing about organized sports, but
and I do too. As I said the other day, I wish I didn't love baseball and football as much as I do. It's just in my DNA. I've been watching those sports since I was a kid, and I love them. But I also have a love-hate relationship with them because of, the NFL has some horrible people, in management, and the baseball has cheaters. The concussion factory in football, I don't know, but I do watch. I say I don't like it, but I've hardly missed a minute of playoffs because it's something to do. And it's, a level of competition you don't see if you're a Chicago fan too often.
Are the White Sox in the...
No, they're not. And someone else said to me,
who?
So are the White Sox? No, they've been gone for 2 weeks.
Oh, they have?
Yeah.
And same with the Cubs, I'm assuming.
They never were in.
Yeah, because they got rid of...
Everybody. Yeah.
They got rid of Rizzo, who plays...
the Yankees.
I know he plays for the Yankees now, but he plays first base.
Yes, he does.
I'm so good at sports. Thank you, Devin, for holding up the number one. I'm trying.
You
are.
I'm
trying-ish.
But I don't know. The rest of the week's a blur.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, but a friend of mine came into town. Well, I had my first show at the Venus Cabaret. It was great.
I was going to ask you the first thing. I forgot.
We had wonderful.
Did you have a good turnout? Not bad.
We had a not bad turnout, especially for the first one.
Yeah.
That's the cool thing. Venus Cabaret Theater, which is right next to the Mercury Theater. Our good friend Honey West is the director of the space, and she has launched what they're calling the Dark Knight series. Mm-hmm. Dark Knight, not like Batman. I'm Batman. But the Dark Knight's when you in the theater is when there's nothing performing. So those are usually like Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. So during those days, they are bringing in a whole bunch of different shows
All right.
tonight. Will Willem, who I don't believe we've ever had on the show, but they are an incredible actor. They're currently in Mr. Burns at Theater Wit. Did you ever see Mr. Burns the first time around?
No.
Holy shnikes. Everybody out there who enjoys the theater, who wants to see something that is so super duper relevant and just also one of the most bananas thing you will ever see on stage.
Oh, fun. I'll check it out.
It's called Mr. Burns. I believe there's a tag after like a post-apocalyptic play.
Mm-hmm.
It's a play in 3 acts, and it's. I don't want to share too much, but it's.
Okay.
Let's just say it does borrow from The Simpsons a lot, and it is the most bananas thing that you've ever seen.
Nice.
But I think it deals a lot with like there's a global phenomenon that happens in the first act, so people are kind of on their own and panicked because they don't know what's going on, kind of like a pandemic. I mean, and then you kind of see how they're telling stories about The Simpsons, and then as time goes on, you kind of see how a mythology is developed around The Simpsons.
No.
It's yes.
So is he
Anyway,
going to be back
they
at?
are. So Will Willem, they're doing a cabaret tonight with their sibling called Sibling Revelry. So it's the two of them. They're going to be singing songs or belting stuff out. So if you're in town and you want to escape the rain, go see that Sibling Revelry at the Venus Cabaret tonight at 7:30. But it was a great time. It was a really really fun show. And then my friend Rebecca Skloot came into town. She was on her way to a speaking engagement at Swarthmore in Philadelphia. She's the one she wrote The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks.
Yes.
And Henrietta Lacks was just recognized by the World Health Organization for her contribution. So it was great. And
what's she working on now? Something?
She's working on a book about animals and about testing and our relationship to animals.
Okay.
I think I got that right.
All right.
It's a little complicated, but it's, like she's talking about, like testing on animals, and she's very, very specific about, she's such a huge animals activist.
Sure.
Because she grew up, she was working in a veterinarian's office and all this. So she's very, very particular, and she loves animals. And like even when it comes to, but she's a carnivore, but she makes sure that she only gets her animal products from like ethically raised and all this stuff. And same thing like with leather, and so. When people are like, we should stop animal testing, it's like, yes, but without animal testing, we wouldn't have vaccines. And
that's where I was thinking.
Like that's a lot of stuff that's going on. So it'll be very interesting.
But Jane Goodall, just to circle back to her, one of the last things she said was, when you go shopping, look at the label and see if it's, if any animals were harmed or if it was, done sustainably, and then don't eat meat. Try not to eat a lot of meat. That was what her words were, to keep the, for climate change.
Oh, yeah. I think doing a Meatless Monday is fantastic. Or even like or when you're going to the grocery store, find things that are local.
Right.
There is something about a big climate change thing is all the produce and things that are flown in from China and from Mexico and from all over the place. So if you can find stuff, eat with the seasons, eat less meat, it's better. It's good for your body, and it's good for the environment.
I'm with you 100%. We
look at us.
Yeah,
there we are.
Yes, I do. I mean, we have meatless meals all the time. We do fish. We do meatless. We do fish. We do shrimp. We do chicken, and we do a little pork, but no beef. Kathy doesn't like it, so we never do beef.
I love it.
I never do it.
I enjoy it very much.
Once in a great while, I'll have a little, slider if it's like at a restaurant that has like a
good burger,
a good one.
Yeah, you need one.
But I mean, like really once a year. I'm not exaggerating, but
all right. Well,
try that, people. Try to eat less meat. I know we can do it. Help the climate.
Yeah, I make these little quinoa burgers, and they're really, really good.
Yeah, I love a good grain thing.
But yeah, anyway, but it was great to see Rebecca. We haven't seen each other in a year and a half.
Oh, how nice.
Yeah, because she lives in, not here. So, actually she was the last house guest that we had before the pandemic, before everything got shut down. So yeah, so it was great to see friends, kind of reconnect. I drove to Iowa.
Did you get
I did. I went to go see my sister.
Oh, nice.
And she gave me her. I've got a new to me Mini Cooper. Cute little zippy
I'm
thing.
jealous. I've been eyeing those cars for years.
Yes, they're fun.
Do you like it?
I do. Although when I was driving back, there's like getting used to, it's a new car,
It's a different
to me.
size and everything too.
Well, it was pretty much the same size as my like crappy Toyota Corolla. It's a smaller car and everything. But it makes sounds that I'm not used to. Like there's no console in between the driver's seat and the passenger seat, and I usually, like when I'm on a long trip, I tend to like rest my arm there. So I was like,
what are you supposed to put your arm on?
well, so I was just kind of resting my arm on the passenger seat, but then the sensor read that there was a person there without a seatbelt on, and then a beep came. I was like so loud, so I'm like, what is going? Like, oh, what is it? And they're like, seatbelt. I'm like, oh, okay. Oh, this happened in my other car. Like, it'll just stop. And like 2 minutes later, it didn't stop. So I had to like reach across, like while I'm driving, reach across and plug it, like connect the thing. Yeah, and then when I was running out of gas, it came out really like, you're running out of gas. Like it's a very aggressive car for being something so cute and so tiny. It's just like, come on, man, get your stuff together.
I don't know them intimately. I've just seen them on the road. I've never been in one.
Well, I'll give you a ride sometime.
Like that.
Actually, what we should do, I should be giving you a ride right to a commercial
Yes, I
break
think
is
we
what we
should
should do. But before we go, this part of Out Chicago is brought to you by Team Hochberg. Hey, if you're looking to purchase a new home or refinance your existing home, then you need to call Team Hochberg, your trusted local lender. Let's hear about Tom. He's retired. He's got a Social Security income of $30,000 with over $2 million in retirement assets. Sounds like Tom's doing all right there.
Yeah.
Tom contacted 3 banks to refinance his Illinois home so he could purchase a second home in Florida so he can go spread the vaccination and masks love all the way down to Florida. Yeah. There we go. But you know what? All 3 of those banks told him he didn't qualify, so he called Team Hochberg for a free consultation. You know what? Team Hochberg helped Tom refinance and purchase a second home with an asset depletion loan. Now let's review. Before calling Team Hochberg, Tom was rejected by 3 banks. Not 1, not 2, but 3 banks. But after calling Team Hochberg, Tom lowered his rate and monthly payment, refinancing his current home and purchased a new home in Florida. Team Hochberg has helped thousands of WCPT listeners use their retirement assets to refinance their existing homes and purchase new homes like they helped Tom. But they can't help if you don't call 855-56-DAVID or visit 56david.com. That number again is 855-563-2843 or visit 56david.com. Homeside Financial, Equal Housing Lender, NMLS 1124061. We've got to take a quick break, but when we come back, we're going to be talking about kind of the awful news, like entertainment news that happened this week. Alec Baldwin, there we are. So please stick around. You're listening to Out Chicago right here on WCPT.
Can I get a weight reading on the cat in exam 3?
Zuri needs a new vet tech after their current one literally moved to a farm.
Snap-to-tail checkup is waiting.
But finding an ideal replacement takes some training.
This is like herding cats.
Indeed can help them hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Schedule virtual interviews and talk to candidates right from your employer dashboard. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
If you have been financially affected by the COVID pandemic, then this message is for you. Are you among the many folks who have lost their jobs, or if you've been furloughed, or working from home at a reduced pay? If you have credit card debt and cannot make your monthly payments, we at Debt Fix Pros can help. Call us to see how we can reduce your interest rates and lower your monthly payments. If you are struggling with credit card debt, we can help. Call 800-707-1097. That's 800-707-1097.
I'm David Hochberg. It's Sunday. You're a veteran who served our country and can use a VA loan to either purchase a new home or refinance your existing home, but you don't know who you can trust. Team Hochberg respects your service and has VA loan experts available right now to answer your questions and help you secure a VA loan. Team Hochberg has helped thousands of radio listeners secure VA loans, but we can't help if you don't call 855-563-2843 or visit 56david.com. Homeside Financial, Equal Housing Lender, NMLS 1124061.
This is a WCPT Civil Rights Snapshot. In 1954, Brown v. the Board of Education was the famous Supreme Court case that ended racial segregation in schools. However, this was not the first case on the issue. When Mexican labor workers came to work the citrus groves of Southern California, Californians began to enforce their own de facto segregation, even in the school systems. 80% of Mexican-American children were placed into Mexican schools, as the California Board of Education called it. The Mexican-American schools were terrible, having poor classroom conditions, shorter school days, and only being taught how to speak English. In 1944, parent Gonzalo Mendez insisted that not only his children, but all Mexican-American students be given a quality of education equal to their Anglo neighbors, but the school board refused to change, and Gonzalo and 4 others filed a lawsuit. In 1946, the case was heard by a judge who ruled in favor of Mendez, saying, "School must be open to all children by unified school association, regardless of lineage, ending segregation in California schools for all students of color." Please stay vigilant about our civil rights. The fight is never over.
Hey, this is Mark Patton, and I'm from Scream Queen, My Nightmare on Elm Street, and you're listening to Out Chicago.
And welcome back to Out Chicago. Scott Duff here, along with Ellen Miller, as we are rolling along. I love hearing Mark Patton.
Especially this time of year.
I know. Okay, I'm going to teach. So next week, you're going to be gone.
I'm going to be gone. I'm going to a family reunion.
Going to a family reunion, which is
first.
Which will be wonderful.
I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, you are going to Florida. You can hang out with
Not
Tom.
Florida. Oh.
I thought you were going to Florida.
Cincinnati.
Oh, why did I think Florida?
Because the following week I'm going to...
Oh, there we are. Well, then you can say hi to Tom in his newly refinanced home, second home
from his $2 million or whatever he has.
Yes, from all of that. Where was I going with this? Was I talking about?
About
I totally
oh
just...
my God.
Senior moment. What?
Next week's show.
Oh, next week's show. Thank
Halloween.
you. We're horror movies, so you're going to be gone. So I love horror movies. Horror movies are my favorite thing. And a friend of mine from Northwestern was in Scream, for me, one of the best horror movies ever made. So she's going to be on our show. So we get to talk to. I know I'll
be listening in the car driving back.
She was the ever important girl in bathroom. Have you seen Scream? Have you seen Scream, Devin? Okay, so when they're in the bathroom and and Sydney's hiding in the bathroom stall, and there is the cheerleader and her friend, and they're talking about her bubble butt boyfriend and all this stuff. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Vaguely.
Oh, vaguely. Never mind. Anyway, so my friend Nancy Ann Ritter is going to be on the show.
Oh, that'll be nice. That's perfect for Halloween.
Yeah, because it's been like 25 years. I think it's the 25th anniversary coming up of Scream. I can't believe it's that long. No, that can't be 25. I just made that part up.
Could be 20.
Could be 20.
Research.
No, research! There we go. So, yeah, so Halloween.
I used to love creature features when I was a kid. It was on locally here. We watched as kids. Something happened when I got older. I don't know what it was. I mean, I loved horror films when I was a little kid. I loved them.
Oh, really?
We watched creature features.
Well, okay, and now you just prefer to look at politics. That'll scare you enough.
I think that's the scariest thing I watch. There's only room in my brain for so much scary.
Yeah. Well, speaking of scary, so first of all, Colin Powell passed away this week.
I was really saddened by it. He had a couple missteps, but I love that he put country before party more times than not in the last bunch of years, and I really respected that. My dad was a lifetime Democrat who loved Colin Powell as well, and guys like him. The sad part,
he was like John McCain.
Yeah, they're gone. Those guys are gone. That party is not that way anymore. There's, Adam Kissinger, and that's about it.
Liz Cheney.
And Liz, yeah.
She's on certain things, but there's still, some policy they disagree on. But what they don't disagree on is the fact that we are Americans, and that we should be looking after Americans right now.
Yeah, but that's so hard to find. And
it is. Did you see the ex-blogger from Florida's response to?
No, I didn't. I was wondering what he was going to say, and I never heard what he said.
Let's just say he was just remained on brand, and it was petty and horrible. And
I figured it would be.
It was kind of like, wait, what? It basically was like, you know what? Yeah, he made some mistakes and whatever, and he didn't do a good job, but now he's dead. So anyway, I hope he's okay. It was just basically the gist of it. You're like,
he's a small person.
Just so tiny. So tiny and small. any hoozles. But we lost somebody who we might not agree upon, with several
and he did
policies
say,
and ideologies.
When he stood in front of the United Nations and made his case for war with the weapons of mass destruction, he said that was the info he was given, and yes, it haunts him to this day. So at least he owns it, right? To me,
he owned
we
it,
all
yep.
make mistakes. If you own it,
that's a pretty big one.
That was a big one, but he was given that.
What I mean?
But he was fed that by Rumsfeld and
this is the information that he was given.
Guys.
Yeah. No, I hear that.
Cheney.
Yeah. So it's.
Mm-hmm. That was sad. I was saddened by that.
Yeah, that was sad. And
really
also
was.
then on I think it was Thursday this week.
It was Thursday.
Baldwin, there was a horrible accident on the set of a film called Rust. It's being filmed in the Southwest, and Alec Baldwin misfired a prop gun with blanks. Killing.
They say that. Why would there ever be live ammo in a gun on any kind of theatrical or movie set?
I have no idea.
I'm trying to wrap my brain around that question.
And it was
I don't know still.
I know we're still waiting to find out all the details, but
I don't know that a blank could do that.
Well,
go through somebody and hit the person in the back. A bullet went through her chest and hit the director.
Oh,
it's got to be a bullet. I don't know that a blank could do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But why would there ever be a bullet?
I
don't know. I feel he's another birthday buddy of mine.
Yeah.
My birthday buddies. He's a controversial guy, but and he's made some weird stuff. That convo, remember that with his daughter, that thing that was on years ago?
When he was basically drunk.
But that's his. He guy's got some issues, but in general, I'm so feeling for him. I really am. I respect him.
How awful!
I don't know, and I'm sure that movie's not gonna. I can't imagine they would even continue with it.
Oh yeah,
No, I can't. It's tainted now. It's horrible.
Yeah.
But that was sad too. I couldn't get him out of my mind. I had Colin Powell in my mind, and early in the week when he died, I kept thinking about him, and then Alec Baldwin on Thursday, and I just kind of was haunted by the prospect of him having to go through that.
Yeah. I think it might. Part of the issue I think might be what the IATSE union is fighting for right now, which is also more fair working conditions. I don't know if you've been following this at all, but the IATSE, which is the union that was behind the scenes union, that they're looking for better practices because there are people who've been coming out. A lot of these streaming networks like Netflix has been having a hard couple of weeks. Netflix, Hulu, Amazon, all of these places are being charged with unfair work practices. And they're working around someone's schedule. So I remember there was a story about how someone, The Rock was only available for a certain window of time. So the crew had to work through lunch, but that was a 16-hour day. And you're required to have an 8 hours off, but then after you're done working your 16 hours, you still have to drive somewhere to get home, especially if you live in LA.
Sure.
And that could be even more dangerous. There are people who've gotten into car accidents because they've fallen asleep at the wheel with all this. So I think there might just be, we need to start looking at fair work practices, start looking at things like that, because that's how people are make mistakes.
Sure.
If this, the prop master would be in charge, and the person who's in charge of handling the guns on set, there is a gun wrangler, so they would double check and everything, and there's a human error that could happen. Again, this is just kind of conjecture because we don't know what happened, and I know they are they're working with the police completely on this whole thing, but it's just
hard to wrap your brain around that happened.
Yeah. But do you remember? I think it was back in '84. There's an actor, John Eric Hexum. Do you remember that show? There's a TV show called The Voyagers.
No.
I just remember. I remember it because there was this kid in the '80s named Mino Pellucci who I just loved because he was a kid and he was on TV, and he was on everything, and I'm like, And he had the show Voyagers, and he and this guy. Phineas Bogg. How do I remember all these names? I don't know. But his name was played by an actor, John Eric Hexum, and he was supposed to be the next big thing. And he was joking around on set with the gun that had blanks, and he pretended to shoot himself, and he shot himself because of the force of the blank that came. There's still force that comes out. That's how you get the sound.
Bruce Lee's son.
Yeah. So there was a whole bunch of.
It happens.
So I think we need to be looking at, Hollywood really needs to start taking stock to see like what's going on with their sets, what's going on with the fair work practices, and we need to do that across the country. There's this thing that's happening right now that we'll probably get to later on in the show called people are referring it to the Great Resignation.
Yes.
Where people are resigning. And that goes for people who, during the pandemic, who've had like these incredible moments of, clarity, being like, what am I doing? This is like, I need to do something with my life. So people are like leaving their jobs and are doing something. Or all of these jobs that we have deemed essential during the pandemic, we've deemed the jobs essential, but not the workers.
And how we treat them and pay them.
And how we treat workers and how we pay them. So it's, people who are making barely minimum wage, maybe a little over, for doing these jobs that we call essential, but they're not being treated well. There aren't humane work experiences for everybody. So that's another thing that we really need to start stepping up and looking at. So that's a big thing.
It is. And, they said it was because of all the money people got during, the pandemic, unemployment insurance. And it's a lot more than that, obviously,
I think the unemployment insurance money
gave them some freedom to think.
Well,
it
gave some freedom to think, but it also gave them some, like a moment of, oh wait, so this is what a living, like even that, the $600, like that was a living wage. People were that was more than what some people were making.
I heard from a few people that they're making more on that than they were in their regular jobs.
So I think that was one of those moments where people were like, oh, I can be treated better. And again, dealing with, essential jobs, frontline health care providers, folks who work in grocery stores, the post office, all of these things. We see these jobs, and I think they were really tested during the pandemic.
They were,
and continue to be so. And then of course, people in the pandemic times, tensions were high. People were stressed. There was the election. We were scared. We didn't know. People were being ugly towards one another. You can still see now. There's people still getting mad about having to wear a mask going into a public place, so they're like, I should not have to deal with this. Like I'm not being paid enough to deal with all of this BS, so I think that's part of the reason why some people are stepping away and trying to figure out what do I do?
And and looking at the last year and a half of people dying, of people, people had no choice but to sit at home and really take stock of their lives and the lives around them and think about things and think about life and think about, we were forced to think inward, those of us, that did, and to really kind of take stock of what is the meaning of life? What is my life worth?
Yeah. What is my purpose?
And
what
so
am I
doing? I think the pandemic, and we were at a fun all-lesbian set outside and around the fire pit party last night, which was great. I thought of you, Scott, last night in your solo stove.
I love it.
And, we've done doing this with friends, like, what did you learn? What, and some of them, I was doing more of this. I always hated cooking. I've been cooking. But, of course, now we're starting to get our lives back, and we just flipped that switch again. Like, I was playing guitar all the time because it was my comfort.
Yeah.
And I'm busy again. I'm getting busy again. And so that has, gone by the wayside. But, a lot of people did have time to do things that they had wanted to do and thought about doing. Well, guess what? They had time to do it, whether it was thinking or just doing a new hobby or project. And I think
but those are also the people who had the luxury of working from home and staying home. Again, some of these people were like healthcare workers, like grocery stores, like the post office.
They were still working.
People were still working.
Right.
And I think that was a big wake-up call for people to be like, oh, right, there are some companies that did step up, that gave folks more money, that, did all that during the hard times. But I also know that some of those raises or those bonuses have been walked back, so I think that is a huge thing. And we need to, businesses really need to look at how they are treating their employees, because they're not employees, they're people. That is not just employees, they're people. And there's a weird thing of how people interact.
Yeah.
Let's go to the phones. Earl in Hyde Park, welcome. You're on Out Chicago.
Hey guys, thank you for taking my call. Great conversation this morning.
Thank you.
But I wanted to try to comment on what you were talking about. And what I wanted to kind of weigh in on is I really think that the Republican Party needs to have in their philosophy poor people who are not respected and not given a living wage to take these menial jobs. And if someone gets sick or if someone dies, they feel that if you have enough poor people and enough desperate people, they'll just keep rotating them in. And what I'm going to use also to try to substantiate what I believe, look at how DeSantis is doing in Florida, keeping everything open, and people are dying in his state. But as long as it's not his voters and it's the quote-unquote menial jobs that people don't necessarily have to be skilled to do, they don't mind losing them. I think it's an ideology that doesn't place much value on the menial jobs, and the people that have to do those jobs, they just don't rate. So I just wanted to put that out, that I'm agreeing with what you're saying, but I think it goes to the Republican philosophy of not valuing people who do certain jobs.
Yep, you're right, Earl. And and thank you so much, Earl, for calling in. I think you're true. There are some things that I do take a little bit of not umbrage, but just like, I think a lot of the what's the word? Working class? I think that's a horrible word because we're all working. I think some of these, lower paying jobs, people who are, were affected by this, were part of the people that were led over to Trump's side because they fed on white grievance.
Yep.
It's like, I should be doing better than I'm doing right now. I think there's a lot of that kind of moved over. So I don't know if it's necessarily like aimed at Democrats or the people that are quote unquote the working class, are affected by this. But also I think it's an interesting term when we brought up the menial jobs. It's like, what? We need to reframe that. Just take they are essential jobs. People, where would we be if you didn't have people who who collected the garbage?
Well, even though it's a lot of the Republicans' own people that have these jobs, they don't care about them.
It's true. That's why we need to raise the minimum wage. We need to get universal health care. So many things. And people, when they're talking about tax the corporations, but then they'll increase products and decrease wages. Like, how about if the people at the top, they take the pay cut? Why is that so hard? Down? It's like how much.
How about Amazon not paying? They're so rich.
Yeah. Oh, I heard some interesting things about their practices at the Whole Foods. Their expected turnover is 3 months. So they don't give people enough time to get benefits. They just turn and burn.
I wouldn't be surprised.
So anyway, I think we need to reframe how we look at
we absolutely do,
and stop using it, and maybe change the terms of menial, to essential. Because they are
essential. We learned that if we learned nothing else during this pandemic, how much we relied on them.
I know. Well, hey, we need to take a break. And when we come back, we're going to be speaking with a musician, Shanta Narula, who's one of the recipients of the 3 Arts Grant Awards. Sitar player, musician, storyteller. Cannot wait to speak with her. So please stick around. You're listening to Out Chicago right here on WCPT.
Rick Unger.
There has been enormous controversy over whether the CDC is flip-flopping when they told us at one point, well, if you have the vaccine, you don't need to wear the mask. Now they're saying you do need to wear the mask even if you've had the vaccine. Well, there's a good reason for it. It is very easy for you, if you do have the virus, to give it to other people. We know all this.
Rick Unger, weekday evenings at 6, right here on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
I'm David Hochberg. It's Sunday, and you're constantly complaining about paying PMI on your FHA loan, but you've done nothing about it. If you took out a 30-year fixed loan after June of 2013 and your loan-to-value was greater than 90%, you will have PMI for the entire length of your loan. Team Hochberg has helped thousands of radio listeners refinance out of their FHA loan to eliminate their PMI, but we can't help if you don't call 855-563-2843 or visit 56david.com. Also, financial legal housing lender, MLS 1124061.
Hey, this is DJ Super Save with an incredible app everyone who buys gas needs to know about. Get Upside. My listeners are making up to 25 cents for every gallon of gas every time they fill up. Just download the free Get Upside app in the App Store or Google Play right now. Use promo code OWN and get a bonus 25 cents per gallon on your first fill up. That's up to 50 cents cash back. Don't pay full price at the pump anymore. Get cash back using Get Upside. Just download the app for free and use promo code OWN to get up to 50 cents a gallon cash back on your first tank. Some people who drive a lot are making as much as $200 to $300 a month in cash back. And there's no catch. The cash back gets added right to your account. You can cash out anytime to your bank account, PayPal, or an e-gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Get Upside app and use promo code OWN to get up to 50 cents a gallon cash back on your first tank. That's code OWN.
October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and Hawk Volkswagen is proud to support the Pink Heals Joliet chapter. The Pink Heals support women and their families, not causes, so all donations go directly to people here locally who are struggling. We'll be accepting donations all month long, so please help us support this wonderful organization. October is also an excellent time to buy a new Volkswagen. We've got 0% financing for 72 months available on new Volkswagen models. Save big on a huge selection of new Volkswagen models like Jetta, Tiguan, Atlas Cross Sport, and the all-new Taos. All in stock now and ready for immediate delivery. Hawk Volkswagen Joliet, number 1 in Illinois 5 years in a row. Located on Jefferson Street in Joliet or online at hawkvw.com. Available on select new Volkswagen models with approved credit is determined by Volkswagen Credit. See dealer for details. Number 1 claim based on 2016 through 2020 retail sales. Expired 11/1/21.
Welcome back. I'm Paul Oakley Stovall. You're listening to Out Chicago on WCPT.
And welcome back to Out Chicago. Scott Duff here, along with Ellen Miller, as we roll along on this rainy, cloudy day. But we're going to bring some sunshine into your week. We're super excited because 3 Arts, the Chicago-based nonprofit grant-making organization who supports women artists, artists of color, and deaf and disabled artists, announced the recipients of this year's awards. And we are super excited to have as one of our guests one of this year's recipients, musician and storyteller Shanta Narula. Shanta, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
And first of all, congratulations on being one of the recipients of the 3 Arts Award. How did you find out, and how did it feel when you found out that you were awarded this lovely prize?
Oh man, I got a phone call and I was speechless, but since I was on the phone, I needed to talk.
I love that. It's like, huh.
Shanta, is this something that you apply for, or do they just find you? How does it work?
Well, you had to be nominated.
Okay.
And then after you were nominated, then you had to fill out a very lengthy application, which you had to include 6 work samples of things that you had done. So in terms of music, 6 examples of your music that you had created within the past 3 years, which was really challenging because those 3 years included the months of shutdown.
Yeah, that year and a half where nothing happened. And anybody who was creative during that time, I bowed down to, because I don't know how they did it.
Right, so I was able to sneak in the last performance that I did before the shutdown.
Oh, good.
And then some virtual things that I had done. But it was really challenging to come up with 6.
Yeah,
I bet.
But I did it, and then they had a jury that listened to all of the work samples from the people in music that had been nominated. And I got through,
All right.
It was amazing, yeah.
Well, congratulations on that. Now, you are, as in terms of your musician life, you play the sitar and the bass, and I know there's one other instrument that's escaping me right now.
This is guitar, bass, djembe.
and mbira, which is it goes by many different names, but it's traditionally an African instrument that's played with your thumbs or your fingers, and you hold it in your hands and play it. But the sitar is my main instrument, and what distinguishes the way I deal with it is it's a traditional Indian instrument, from India, but I don't play traditional Indian music on it. What I do is play music from the African American culture. So I play a bit of spirituals, blues, jazz on this Indian instrument. So that's kind of my calling card with it.
So, Jean, tell me how you learned the sitar. I have to know because, I'm a harmonica player and a guitar player, and there's plenty of other harmonica player and guitar players that I could sit with and learn from. How does one learn the sitar?
Well, I was fortunate enough when I was in college to be able to go to India on one of those cultural exchange programs. And I was in India for 6 months. I did not go there intending to play the sitar. I'd never even heard of the instrument. But I was there for about a week when I heard it and fell in love with it and was able to find a teacher, find an instrument. So I got about 5 months of just the basics on the instrument, how to hold it, how to play it. And from there, I'm primarily self-taught. Wow. I got a few people who gave me some pointers along the way, but I just went for it from there.
And do you tune it like they would tune it in India, or do you do a different kind of tuning on it?
I tune it like they tune it in India. I've done some experimenting with it, but pretty much tune it traditionally.
And then you've made the leap into do you play blues, for instance?
Right, I play some blues on it, some jazzy things, and a lot of improvising. Yeah. So I play with the AACM, the Association for Advancement of Creative Musicians, which is we're having our 55th anniversary concert this coming Saturday at the Logan Center at the University of Chicago.
Oh, wonderful!
So we do some all improvisational music. And then my group, Sitarsis, we have a concert coming up on November 13th at Constellation. So that would be a good chance for people to hear what I do with my sitar.
Yeah. So what was the first impulse to take this classically Indian instrument and then infuse blues and spirituals and that type of music with this traditionally Indian instrument?
Sitting in my little room in India and figuring out how to play. Sometimes I feel like a motherless child on the instrument, and hearing how it just fit, and there are ways that you can pull on the strings that make it, the instrument can cry and it can moan. The same way the guitar strings cry and moan in the blues. The same way the blues singers moan and gospel singers moan. It's a very emotional sounding instrument.
Yeah, so it felt like it was a natural fit for this.
Right.
How do you view music and art in general? Because you're also a storyteller as well. Do you view that as as a form of activism?
Yes.
That was very measured.
Now that you mention it.
Sure. But is it just more for community?
Well, both. I'm stumbling now, which I don't often do, but I think that in my art, I hope that I'm doing art that uplifts people, that educates, that motivates, that inspires. So all of that is activism.
Yes, indeed.
And Go ahead.
Yeah, no, and you know, that's one thing I always think, you know, just exposing people to, just for example, just you taking a different instrument and a unique instrument like the sitar and applying it to a different genre, I think is a new way of opening up, exploring that genre and peeling away more layers of it. And I think, like you're saying, it exposes people to different cultures, exposes people to different thoughts, and it uplifts and inspires. And I think that's what wonderful art should do. I also know that you also have a collaboration with Zara Baker called Shazah.
Right.
Can you tell a little bit about that work?
Well, one thing that Shazah did very recently, we were commissioned by About Face Theater to do a piece with their Kickback Festival, which was virtual because of COVID, but we were able to present our piece called On Mission at Navy Pier recently with the big weekend a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, there was a whole Navy Pier put on an entire production announcing that live theater is back, and then many of the theater companies around Chicago were able to produce some performance pieces to celebrate Chicago. And I couldn't think of more people that they would be more excited to celebrate the return to live performance than with you. Can you remind folks, Shanta, of your upcoming shows later this month and in November?
November 13th, Saturday, November 13th at 8:30 p.m. at Constellation, which is 3111 Northwestern. It's a proof of vaccination only venue.
Great.
That'll be my group called Sitarsis. And then the other one is the AACM 55th anniversary at the Logan Center at the University of Chicago, October 30th.
Well, there we go. Well, let me tell you, if you want to find more information about Shanta Narula, you can go to shantastoryteller.com. Congratulations on being a recipient of the 3 Arts Awards. I know a grant like this can be life-changing for folks, so congratulations, and keep making music and inspiring.
I'm putting it in my calendar right now for the 13th, the Constellation. I'm going to try and come.
Oh, great.
Thank you.
I hope to see you and your listeners. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you, Shanta Narula. There we go. We've got to take a quick break, and when we come back, it is the second hour of Out Chicago right here on WCPT.
The David Pakman Show.
Anecdotally, people have written to me and they've said, listen, David, my employer claims to be hiring. The companies are listing jobs in order to placate the workers they have. We're hiring. But really, it's to keep the existing employees doing the jobs of 1.5 or 2 people calm as they continue to do way more work than they normally would.
The David Pakman Show, weekday evenings at 10 on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
Can I get a weight reading on the Cotton Exam 3?
Zuri needs a new vet tech after their current one literally moved to a farm.
Detailed checkup is waiting.
But finding an ideal replacement takes some training.
This is like herding cats.
Indeed can help them hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Schedule virtual interviews and talk to candidates right from your employer dashboard. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
This is WCPT 820, where you can hear The Stephanie Miller Show every weekday, 8 to 11 a.m., because facts matter.
NBC News Radio, I'm Scott Carr. 2 children are dead. 8 people were injured after a drag racer veered off the track at a race in Texas. The event billed as family-friendly, called Airport Race Wars 2, was held at the airport in Kerrville, north of San Antonio, yesterday. A drag racer slammed into a group of spectators. Kerrville police say a 6-year-old boy died at the scene. An 8-year-old boy died at the hospital. They're bracing for flash flooding in several parts of the nation today. In Northern California, up to 10 inches inches of rain expected to drench an area scarred by wildfires. That raises the threat of dangerous debris flows. Meantime, heavy rains are expected to bring flooding to the Chicago region and parts of the Upper Plains states. Police in New York are investigating after a woman leaving a baby shower was shot several times last night. Here's Paul DeCastro.
The victim was wounded 4 times when she got caught in the crossfire of 2 men shooting at each other outside the King Studio on Atlantic Avenue in East New York. The 25-year-old woman was hit 3 times in the chest and once in the leg. She was taken to the hospital and is said to be in stable condition. Cops say they are still looking for the 2 men. It's unclear why they were shooting at each other.
The Democratic Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, says a deal is basically done for the human infrastructure package that's been debated lately in Congress. Speaking on CNN's State of the Union, Pelosi says there will be agreement on the bills, and the plan is to vote on the bipartisan infrastructure bill this week. Christian Aid Ministries is asking for prayers for the 17 missionaries still being held hostage by a gang in Haiti. The members of the Ohio-based missionary group were kidnapped last weekend while visiting an orphanage north of Haiti's capital. Haiti's justice minister tells the Washington Post the gang was demanding $1 million ransom for each person. The gang's leader threatened to kill the hostages. Scott Carr, NBC News Radio.
Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive on WCPT Willow Springs is powered by ComEd. Lower your energy bills and reduce your carbon footprint with the ComEd Energy Efficiency Program.
There is truth and there are lies. Lies toll for power and for profit. And each of us has a duty and a responsibility as citizens, as Americans, to defend the truth and defeat the lies.
You're listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
Stephanie Miller.
California reached the lowest U.S. COVID transmission rate in the country. Here's a little tutorial for all y'alls. All residents, regardless of vaccination status, to wear face coverings in public indoor places. Residents show they've either been vaccinated or recently tested negative before patronizing certain businesses. All children 12 and older in public schools will also have to be fully vaccinated. That's how you get to the lowest transmission rate.
Stephanie Miller, weekday mornings 8 to 11. Sponsored by the Porsche Exchange in Highland Park. Visit 4Porsche.com. The number 4Porsche.com.
I'd like to welcome you to WCPT AM's Out Chicago. Think of us as Sunday brunch with your gay best friends. Now please welcome your host, Scott Duff.
And welcome back to the second hour of Out Chicago. Scott Duff here along with Ellen Miller. Yes.
I love talking to Shanta, and I want to hear her music. I'm still thinking about that.
Yes, we just spoke with Shanta Narula, who was one of the recipients of the Three Arts Award, which is, again, it's an incredible organization. Three Arts is a Chicago-based nonprofit grant-making organization. They support women artists, artists of color, deaf and disabled artists, and they give them money, which is always,
which they need so badly.
Which people need. You know, it's fantastic. And if you want to check out the entire ceremony, the 14th annual Three Arts Awards is going to be taking place virtually on Monday, November 1st. It'll be live on YouTube, and the event is free to the public. You just need to register. But it's going to feature 3 world premiere performances by past Three Arts awardees. So go to 3arts.org/event to check that out. It's so great. And you know, I did a show with her partner Zara of Shazaa ages ago. We've worked on a couple things.
What a creative team they are.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And we got some great creative teams coming up later on this hour of the show. Haven Theater Company, they're going to be doing a fun thing for Halloween. They're doing a science fiction double feature, a Rocky Horror picture party. It's an immersive event on October 30th. So we're going to be speaking with artistic director Ian DeMont Martin. And coming up right now, you know, each year the Chicago Humanities Festival, they bring together an incredibly impressive slate of writers, artists, cultural figures. It's the event that Chicago Magazine calls an intellectual palooza. And joining us right now, who will be a part of the discussion, Imagining Chicago's Future, is artist Zakiya Najiba Dumas O'Neill. Zakiya, welcome to the show.
Hi,
Hi, thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us today, and thank you for giving us a sneak peek of your work that will be debuting at the Chicago Humanities Festival. It's called To Render Infinite. Beautiful, thought-provoking. We Ellen and I both got to see a little sneak peek, and we loved it. How would you describe your work as an artist?
Yeah, so a lot of the work that I do is multidisciplinary. So I do work in video, photo, as well as drawing and making works on paper. But the common thread, I think, through my entire practice is really utilizing that work to try to create what I call like an internal gaze between Black women. And so I'm really thinking about how we sort of activate that gaze amongst each other and how I'm activating that gaze with my contemporaries, but also women that came before me. And so with that film in particular, with that video, there's a lot of references to Lorraine Hansberry, which is where the title came from. She made a statement about being able to render the infinite in terms of like her goals as a writer, as a playwright, and as an artist, and the role of the artist. And so I was really inspired by that.
Yeah, before we move on to the actual piece, I would love for you to go a little bit deeper, to this whole idea about reinforcing the different gaze as a part of your mission, for a lack of a better word. You say that you want to reinforce a different kind of gaze and gazing enacted through empathy, desire, love, connectedness, and longing. Can you expand upon that when you're saying that you want to activate this gaze among your contemporaries and among people from the past? What exactly are you hoping to reframe?
Yeah, I think for me, it's reframing this idea that we have to be reactionary to outside audiences. And I'm really interested in how we sort of are more responsive to each other, whether that's like having empathetic responses or whether it's sort of looking at each other. So, for example, a lot of my earlier photo work involved me making portraits with other Black women in a way that had nothing to do with like outside society. I wasn't really sort of making the work in response to any social issues. I wasn't trying to resist anything. And so I think it was kind of like it's about coming from a more internal place and really looking at each other in a more intentional way. And so, for example, I practice that through photo and also thinking about historical people. A lot of the work, my earlier work, was also in reference to the work of Audre Lorde and her sort of mentioning and construction of this idea of the erotic and what it means for us to find ultimate fulfillment and desire outside of society's gaze, outside of the white gaze, outside of the patriarchal gaze, and really trying to find a sense of fulfillment and desire within ourselves and amongst each other. And so that's sort of one of the ways that I'm thinking through this, is like, how can I sort of follow those traditions, but in a visual way? And so a lot of my work is also inspired by a lot of writers and poets.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, you've named Audre Lorde and, Lorraine Hansberry. I'm like, oh, wow, like this is a reader, so you find inspiration through, well, one thing that is very clear that's coming through with your work too, is you are looking towards the future. It seems to me that the only way that we can get to the future is by looking at our past and celebrating it, and also not necessarily even celebrating it, acknowledging it. And saying, how do we move into the future? I
completely agree with that. Yeah, and I also just want to mention this idea of looking to the past is also, I think for me, one thing that I've been really intentional about is sort of centering like queer ancestors or queer women that have come before me, and sort of reflecting back to think about sort of how they were moving through their experiences, and whether it was through something that was more embodied or they were intellectualizing it through their writing. And so that has become like a really potent aspect of the work too.
Like Lorraine Hansberry, which I guess she came out later in life and became an activist towards the end of her life. I did a little reading about her. I didn't realize that.
Oh, yeah.
I also wanted to ask you, Zakiya, about your choice music. The piece that Scott and I saw, music is very integral in it. How do you? What does the music mean to you that you use, and how did you go about making the choices that you did, particularly for what we saw?
Yeah, so the score was actually a collaboration between me and Ayana Contreras, and she created the score for the video. And so one thing that I really loved about the invitation through Chicago Humanities Festival and Chicago Film Archives is that they wanted to pair me with a music artist or with a musician of my choice. And so I chose Ayana Contreras. If you all are familiar with Ayana Contreras, a lot of her music practice is about sort of uncovering and revisiting and centering a lot of soul music and funk music, mostly from the 60s and 70s. And her work also references experimental jazz as well. And so I really wanted to work with another woman artist who I felt could really articulate what I was trying to express through the film. And I love that there's sort of also an element of futurism within the score that she created also.
No, I was intoxicated by it.
Yeah.
I loved, and I know that, the song, she takes a 60s song that is very familiar.
And so I gave her the video, and that's what she created.
Yeah, I loved it. It really worked well. You guys worked well together. She was a good choice.
Yeah, and it definitely, the score in particular was in my head.
Me too.
for hours afterwards.
Well, because of the way it's edited and the way it works in with the visuals, it's just kind of brings you in, and just, it's something about it.
Yeah, and it's really transcendental, which is what I love too.
That's the word.
And I think it goes well with this idea of the infinite. Yeah, and I just love that Ayana sort of like took that and ran with it.
Yeah, I'm looking into. I wasn't familiar with Ayana, but I want to be familiar with Ayana now, because I really enjoy her work.
So
she actually has a radio program called Reclaim Soul. That plays on WBZ.
Oh. Reclaim Souls. Okay.
All right, there we go.
I'm writing it down. I'm learning. That's why I love this show.
We're
I'm learning every minute that I'm on this show. Thank you.
So when you are creating a piece, especially like with a collaboration like the piece To Render the Infinite that's going to be debuting at the Chicago Humanities Festival, what is your process like when you are working with another artist? So you're dealing with the visuals, and then you have the oral, but the two of them together come together to make it just a full sensory experience almost. What is your process when you are to create a piece, especially in a collaboration?
Yeah, I think for us, it kind of happened through a series of conversations and meetings where I was explaining to Ayana before I made the video, really explaining the kind of content that I would be using. So a lot of the content that you do see in the video is sort of pulling from intimate family experiences. There's also a lot of focus on women that are seen in these videos. I really wanted to think about how women are visualized in these videos in a way that could communicate a certain kind of intimacy or a certain kind of like poetics. And so there's some scenes where I repeat the same image of women over and over. And so I think going into it, Ayana was already, I think we were already familiar with each other's work as well. And so she knew that was a focus of mine. She has also worked with Chicago Film Archives, so she was familiar with their archive as well. And I also just think intuitively we sort of have a similar politics, I think, when it comes to what it means to like preserve like Black culture and preserve this preservation of soul music that she's really interested in. I'm also interested in that as well, not from a practicing standpoint, but more so like I am obsessed with like soul music and jazz, and like that's the music that I listen to most of the time. And so I feel like when Ayanna was like that, she believed that she just intuitively knew what it was that I was trying to communicate. And so even in the past, like often people that I've collaborated with, I collaborate with people that I'm typically familiar with or familiar with their work. And if I feel like there's like a similar through line with the work, or we're thinking about similar things, it feels a lot more, I think, appropriate for me to collaborate with them. Because we might be working through those thoughts in a different way. But I think with Ayanna, I've always loved the way that she works with music and kind of how invested she is in the culture of like Black folks on the South Side in particular, and music contributions and artistic and cultural contributions. And so I felt like I could trust her.
Yeah, well, it definitely felt like there was a
person I wanted to work with.
Yeah, it definitely felt like there was a conversation happening between the composition and between the images and the video that you created, and I think that is one of the most successful collaborations in when you have two artists who have similar viewpoints, similar ethos, and then they come together and they're able to talk to one another, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it does. No, totally.
I feel like now I'm getting
Yeah, completely.
So
I love collaborating. I'm really also intentional about collaborating with other Black women, and so that is something that is really important as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
So, so coming up with the Chicago Humanities Festival, you're going to be a part of a discussion called Imagining Chicago's Future. What are you hoping that your piece, that is a collaboration with Ayanna Contreras, composer, what do you hope is going to spark for the discussion with this piece?
Yeah, I mean, one of the main things that I hope that comes out of this is really thinking about how we honor Black women in our city and their contributions. And when I say honor, I mean in a very kind of, I would say, public way, or sort of uncovering, I think, histories that we're not.
We lost you for a second. Okay, you kind of dropped out for a second. Can you repeat what you just said? Because I was like riveted.
Yes.
Oh yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. The service in my apartment sometimes is a little wonky.
I hear you.
But I'm really interested, as I was saying, in this idea of like uncovering like queer folks that have sort of made a lot of cultural contributions to Chicago's history. And I really hope that this conversation invites people to, I guess, like think about that a little deeper and think about the ways that we honor Black women who have made these contributions, whether they are literary or artistic or whatever form. And my hope is honestly that people feel something within themselves that is, I don't know, I guess like optimistic, or a sense of like hopefulness. I'm really thinking about this pandemic and kind of what people were feeling during the pandemic. And I think I honestly just wanted to create a space for people to sort of reflect on their own feelings and kind of use Black women as a way to, I don't know, like transcend us, if that makes any sense.
No, it does. It was
esoteric, but I really hope that is the experience that people have. And I really hope that it sort of expands the conversations of how we use archival footage and historical footage to just rethink what our lives could look like in general. So from the personal to the political.
Yeah, there was a feeling that as I was watching the piece, that there is an overall sense of nostalgia that comes along. And I think that might be, just simply because it is archival footage, but then to have, it was like a two-form nostalgia. You have this, these incredible images of these women and family life, and I'm like, just the sense of home and family. And then you have Lorraine Hansberry, who is on some talk show being as fabulous as she always is. Lorraine Hansberry was one of our greatest thinkers and artists of our times, of the 20th century. And then to have, it has this like sense of nostalgia and comfort and warmth, and then with the way that the frame has been split up and with images of the lake and of water, and there is some sort of possibility, but it also kind of was like it felt almost like a wake up call too, to be like, hey, we need to remember where we came from and look at these people who have been silenced or not as lauded as they should be, in order for us to move forward. And the repeating water imagery almost felt kind of like a baptism of sort of going into a new like rebirth. Am I getting any of that right? There's no right or wrong.
Yeah, no, I can see that.
Well, I don't think it's I really love that interpretation, and I think that's a really great way to answer your question that you were asking before about kind of what am I hoping? What are we hoping?
Oh, Zakia, you need to move back to whatever room you were just in.
You said what people were hoping, what you were hoping people would. You said, and then we dropped out.
Oh, no, what you were just saying about kind of this element of a wake-up call or a reminder, or this idea of like a baptism, that is definitely part of the ways that I would hope people interpret the film. And I think for me, one of the reasons water was so prevalent within this is because that's kind of been a space of solace for me, or like a space of reflection, or this idea of sort of accessing some kind of calmness and stillness. And I think one of the things that the pandemic made me realize, of course, thinking about all of the, losses that we've had and grief that people have experienced, I think even outside of that, like, it really brought me a lot of clarity and stillness. And I know for other people, there were ways that we were able to slow down in ways that we've never have before. And I think there can be so many beautiful things that can happen when you slow down, and the ways that you're allowed to like sit with your thoughts and sort of, I think, dwell in your imagination in a certain kind of way. And so that's one of the elements of the film as well, is like inviting people to sort of access stillness in a way where they have the room to, be playful or tap into their imagination. And I'm really interested in how that trickles out into others as well. So beyond the individual experience, like how can this sort of be activated collectively was kind of what I was thinking of also.
Well,
it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and it is a fascinating piece, and we're so excited that you and grateful that you shared it with us. But if you want to check it out yourself, the Chicago Humanities Festival, in collaboration with Chicago Film Archives, presents Imagining Chicago's Future. It's a film screening and conversation with our guest artist, Zakia Najiba Dumas O'Neill, and composer Ayana Contreras. That's coming up on Saturday, November 6th at Columbia College. If you want to find out more information and for tickets, you can go to chicagohumanities.org. If you also want to find out more information about Zakia and all of the work that she's doing, you can head to zakianajiba.com. I will spell that out for you. ZAKKIYYAHNAJEEBAH.com. Thank you so much for the conversation and for
your great work.
And for the work. Yeah, thank you so much for taking time out today to talk about this. And I look forward to hearing what the about how we can imagine Chicago's future with the Chicago Humanities Festival.
Thank you. And I just want to note, I heard something earlier about going out to brunch with your gay friends, and I'm about to do that right now.
Girl, well then go do that.
Stay dry.
Have some mimosas for us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, thank you so
Anytime.
much, and enjoy your big gay brunch. Zakia Najiba Dumas O'Neill, thank you so much, and congratulations. We look forward to your conversation at the Chicago Humanities Festival on November 6th. Zakia Najiba Dumas O'Neill.
Thank you.
Thank you. Enjoy your day. We've got to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to be speaking with Artistic Director of Haven, Ian DeMont Martin. So stick around. You're listening to Out Chicago right here on WCPT.
I'm David Hochberg. It's Sunday, and you want to sell your home to a family member. You've heard about giving a gift of equity to those purchasing your home for the down payment and closing cost, but you're just not sure how it works, which is why you need to call Team Hochberg, your trusted local lender. Team Hochberg has helped thousands of listeners use the gift of equity to purchase a home, but we can't help if you don't call 855-563-2843 or visit 56david.com. Homeside Financial Legal Housing Lender, NMLS 1124061.
This is a WCPT Civil Rights Snapshot. During the 1960s, many civil rights protest marches started at the steps of the 16th Street Baptist Church. The church was a significant religious center in the highly segregated city of Birmingham, Alabama, being visited by Martin Luther King quite frequently. Because of this, the church was targeted by the Ku Klux Klan, with several bomb threats being called in during civil rights meetings. On the morning of September 15th, a bomb detonated during Sunday school. While many were able to evacuate, 4 young girls, none older than 14, were killed in the rubble, while others that escaped were still severely injured. After the bombing, thousands of protesters gathered at the scene of the bombing, and it was only broken up when Governor Walz called in the National Guard. The death of the 4 girls sparked national outrage across the country. This outrage created even more support for civil rights that helped lead to the passing of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. In that important sense, the bombing's impact was exactly the opposite of what the perpetrators had intended. Please stay vigilant about our civil rights. The fight is never over.
Susan, I'm sorry I'm late. Traffic is terrible.
It sure is. But on top of that, gas prices have been skyrocketing. I can't believe how expensive gas has gotten recently.
Prices at the pump are up, but I never pay full price for gas anymore. I just use the free Get Upside Gas app that pays you cash back for every gallon of gas you buy.
Wait a minute. Are you saying you actually get paid cash when you buy gas with the Get Upside app?
Yes, up to 25 cents a gallon cash back every time I buy gas.
Does that actually add up to anything?
Some months I make $200 to $300.
Wow, that's serious extra cash. I'm downloading the free Get Upside app now.
Download the free Get Upside app now in the App Store or Google Play to save up to 25 cents a gallon when you buy gas. Use promo code BILL for a 25 cents a gallon bonus on your first tank. That's up to 50 cents a gallon on your first fill-up. You can cash out anytime to your bank account, PayPal, or any gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Get Upside app and use promo code BILL for up to 50 cents a gallon cash back on your first tank. That's code BILL.
Hi, this is Renee Taylor. You're listening to Out Chicago, WCPT 820.
Welcome back to Out Chicago. Scott Duff here, along with Ellen Miller. You're trying to kick something gross over towards me. And
there was something under the desk that had some food debris on it. Something brown, and Devin's going to come rescue it.
Well, don't kick it my way.
Yeah, I was moving it with my feet, and they weren't very directional. You never know what you're going to find here at the WCPT
I know.
studios.
It's always a treasure trove. Always a treasure trove. You know what? I have just been shivering with anticipation. That was for all you Rocky Horror fans out there. Y'all, I think this is going to be one of the most fun things ever happening. So Haven, a wonderful theater company here in Chicago, is inviting you to celebrate Halloween with science fiction double feature, a Rocky Horror picture party that is coming up on October 30th. It is an immersive party event. Joining us on the phone right now is the artistic director of Haven, Ian DeMont Martin. Ian, welcome to the show.
Hey, hi, happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for taking time out today. So for folks who might not be familiar, what is the mission of Haven?
Yes, Haven, we actually went through a huge mission refresh really in the last year. You might have known us in the year prior as new canon, new work, and that kind of focus. But now Haven's really focused on making space, making an equitable haven of opportunity for the creation of innovative performance, theater, and media arts. And so that's really an iteration of our earlier work and also the work I think that we're doing now and the work that we are hoping to do in the near future.
Yeah, I was familiar with Haven, I guess, pre-pandemic, before we realized exactly how broken the world was. And then to see that did seem to be there was a refocusing of the mission, and it's very, very exciting that's coming up. So congratulations on that. How did it feel to be able to sit down with with the other? I guess I'm assuming there are other with the other company members to sit down and really just be like, okay, how can we refocus so that Haven can meet the times like we're living in?
Well, I mean, when the pandemic started, I think there was so much that we took for granted, right? From how we do our rehearsal processes to how much we work, to how quickly we take up and put down shows. And when the pandemic started, and we were mid-production, we were doing our production of Titus Andronicus over at the Den. When the pandemic struck, back in March of 2020. And so the pause that we took, as well as, all of Chicago theater and a lot of the world took, really necessitated and really made room for us to ask those questions. What is our essential work? What is the impact we want to have in community? What is that intention? And are we having the impact we intend? And so we started having these questions internally for our staff and with our board, and we were looking at our current mission, and I was just like, wow, that's a lot of words.
Yeah.
And I'm really still not sure what it's really saying that's new or refreshing. And so we sat down with our staff, our board. We partner with Julia Perkins over at MD Strategic Consultants, and we hammered out not only this new, refreshed, clarified mission, but also a set of institutional values that are public, which are around helping, our community hold us accountable to that intention and the impact that we're trying to have too. It's not just the mission; it's how we go about carrying out the mission's work as well. So I'm really excited to be able to share that mission, and I think events like Science Fiction Double Feature fit into the scope of that kind of work, whereas it might have not fit into the Haven of pre-pandemic time.
So speaking
but before, how do you think that shift, the shift in the new mission, how does Science Fiction Double Feature fit in better with your new mission and values?
Absolutely. Well, when we think about the creation of innovative performance theater and media arts, and creating the space for artists to be able to cultivate that kind of work, this event, and I really do want to call it an event and less of a production,
right,
is sitting at those intersections. Not only will there be aspects of performance, various side acts and variety shows throughout the night. Not only will we get to see some of those iconic images from the film, mixing in with the media, and then also just the reality that we cut our teeth in the theater. We were initially a theater company. Rocky Horror is so ingrained and embedded, I think, in theater culture and in theater kid culture, that it just felt like this happy medium between all of the things that we want to be able to make space for as an organization. And so we did it last year, actually, digitally. We did a Shadowcast digital Rocky Horror last year, and that came out of the pandemic too, right? Not being able to gather, really wanting to center right, community around this, cult classic experience. And from that space, we thought we got to keep this up. How can we iterate on it next year without, the limitations of, just doing a standard sit down and screen the film. And so here we are with this awesome event that we're having next weekend.
So tell us, what exactly will the event encompass, Ian?
Absolutely. So we are invoking the world of Rocky Horror. We're invoking that annual Transylvanian convention, if you're familiar with the film. And
oh, yeah.
When you enter the den, we will have taken over pretty much that whole first floor.
Wow.
So doors open around 9. You'll be able to experience a vendor fair. And so we'll have people selling lingerie, harnesses. If you want to get a flogger, there'll be a tarot reader. You can get henna painted on yourself. All these sort of one individualized experiences are going to be happening throughout the night in the main space. We'll also be taking over the bar. We've got signature cocktails galore. And in that main lobby space, there are a number of side acts that'll happen throughout the night, interspersed with the Rocky-themed content. So in the lobby, you might catch a pole dancer, you might catch a contortionist, you might catch a belly dancer in the lobby in between our sort of Rocky Horror-themed performances. We also have a number of Chicago's drag royalty in the house for the event both nights. And so we'll have a number of numbers from some of those queens and kings as well. Overall, it was going to be a rocking good time.
And Ian, are you encouraging people to come dressed like they used to the midnight productions of Rocky Horror?
Oh, absolutely. And not just exclusively. We do have a best dressed competition, which includes a cash prize. And so
well, that's insane.
It could be Rocky Horror themed. It could not be. I know I'll be dressed, and I won't be in Rocky Horror theme this year. But we're certainly encouraging people to come out in their best Halloween get-ups, their best looks.
Of course, yes, serve looks. Of course, it's Halloween. It's gay Christmas. Come on, this is what we're supposed to be doing.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, so what is your connection to Rocky Horror, like Rocky Horror Picture Show? I know for me, it was one of those. The first time I ever encountered it was from the movie Fame. And because they ended up going there, do you remember Ellen's making this face?
No, I loved Fame.
Yeah.
I watched it. I'm trying to think where Rocky Horror came in.
They go. Doris goes to it. It's a big, huge moment for her. To kind of it's a rebirth for her. So I saw it on there. I was obsessed, and then I finally got to go see it when I was a freshman in high school with the swim team at the Varsity Theater in downtown St. Louis, and I was so excited. It became part of my being. What was your first introduction to Rocky Horror Picture Show?
Yeah, it's so funny to hear you say Fame, because I went to the Fame school.
You went to LaGuardia?
No, not in New York.
Oh, not in New York.
The Cincinnati version.
Oh, okay, in Cincinnati. Sorry, I got too excited. I'm like, oh my gosh, Ian, you're living my life. That's what I always wanted.
It would have been just a sliver of your life, maybe. I went to the School for Creative and Performing Arts in Cincinnati, Ohio, and it's a public arts school, and it was one of the first integrated schools in Cincinnati coming out of segregation and the civil rights, and it was very much the Fame experience. And I went there in my 9th grade year, and it's now a K through 12 school, which I think is pretty iconic. I don't know if there's many schools like that in the country, K-12 public arts school. And I was a creative writing major and a drama major. And the creative writing kids were so eccentric and unique. And so not only did I, of course, see that same scene in Fame, the creative writing kids went to Rocky Horror screenings in the college neighborhood in Cincinnati, Ohio. And they also went to, there was another big show that came out during the time. Repo, the Genetic Opera. I don't know if you know that.
I don't.
But Oh, you should check it out.
I definitely.
It is just as weird and campy as Rocky Horror.
Yay.
In it. It's just all over the place. And so they would go to those screenings as well as Rocky, and that's how I knew about it. I sort of like entered. That's how it entered. I guess my zeitgeist. But it wasn't until college that I actually experienced the Shadowcast experience, which was the full screening at this huge 100-year-old theater in Bloomington, Indiana. Over 600 seats, everyone dressing up, and I think that's when I, fell in love. All of the props and the popcorn and having their newspapers and water guns. It just felt like It blew my mind that there were people in the audience all screaming in unison, lines that had nothing to do, they weren't lines from the film. And I just knew, like, this is something happening. And I want to be a part of it. And yeah, I went several years after that, and Rocky has held a special place in my heart in the time since.
Okay, we are kindred souls. That's all I have to say.
It holds a place for me too. I actually was in London right after college in 1978, and I had enough money for one theater ticket, and it was to see the Rocky Horror Picture Show. The
Rocky Horror Show.
The Rocky Horror Show. The Rocky Horror Show.
Wow.
Yeah, it was the only play that I saw, and I was a kid with a backpack. Pardon?
The stage production.
The stage production in London.
The original stage
production.
Richard O'Brien.
I felt that I had like a real connection to it when it came out in movie form because, I'd seen it in London. So
there's something about this show that really it resonates and it stays with you and it kind of gets into your DNA.
Totally.
Kind of like the newly imagined Haven will get into your DNA.
Yes, it will.
What is coming up? Because we're slowly reemerging. Theaters are announcing a quote unquote season or whatever that means. What's in store for the rest of 21-22 for Haven?
Yeah, so we're starting off with, of course, this science fiction double feature. We normally have our Directors Haven, which is our emerging directors festival for new directors to be able to fully mount a short play, and we do them in rep. So we won't have that this year, but we're bringing it back next season. So excited to bring that up. We'll be in our 7th year of Directors Haven. We'll have our 3rd annual New Year's Eve ball. And so if you come to the Halloween party and think you have a good time, you'll be able to join us again.
Oh, fun.
Around New Year's at the Den. Yeah, it's called the Future Ball, so another opportunity to turn looks. And then we are filming our first ever media project. We're having a short film that I've written and will direct in partnership with Full Spectrum Features. We go into film production of that in January, which is really exciting. The piece is called Save Face and sort of sits at the intersection of coming of age and science fiction and thriller. And then we close the season with a wonderful piece called Get Out Alive by writer-performer Nikki Lynette, which sort of retells her mental health journey and suicide attempt through the medium of an Afro-goth musical. And so Nikki, she opened this show for the band Pussy Riot a number of years ago with this act that has now become Get Out Alive. And through the pandemic, they created a web series of the piece. And so at Haven, we'll be doing the next iteration of the piece with the web content and the stage show and another sort of immersive production type experience. So that's what's coming up for us this year. And
oh, wow.
It sounds amazing. And it sounds like, we've been talking a lot this show about during the pandemic and people taking time out to examine and refocus and realign what they are doing. And it sounds like Haven really took that time to focus and streamline your mission and to create some incredibly new and important projects that are coming up. And also stuff that is just super duper fun as well. Because Haven presents science fiction double feature, a Rocky Horror Picture Party. It is an immersive party. It's going to be on October 30th at the Den Theater. Den Theater is also one of those great places that they require proof of vaccination and wearing a mask, so make sure you bring both. But if you want to find out more information about science fiction double feature and all of the amazing things Haven has coming up for the rest of of the 21-22 season. Go to havenshy.org. That's havenshy.org.
And it's 2 nights. Is it both? It's Saturday and Sunday, right, Ian?
Correct.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's also Saturday and it's Halloween.
Great, so you can do it on get your Halloween on Halloween.
Yes, you can.
So do the whole thing. Ian DeMont Martin from Haven, thank you so much for joining us today, and congratulations. And like I said, I'm shivering with anticipation. There we are. Ian DeMont Martin, Artistic Director of Haven. Thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of your day today.
Thank you. You too. Take care, y'all.
Thanks so much. We've got to take a quick break, and when we come back, it is the final thrilling, show-stopping moments about Chicago right here on WCPT.
Hey, I'm Tom, host of the Consumer Guide Car Stuff podcast. Join us Sundays at 1 p.m. as the editors of Consumer Guide Automotive look at what matters most to people who own, love, or simply have to live with automobiles. Listen in for the latest news, great guests, expert analysis, and occasionally irreverent takes on what's happening in the auto world. We'll try and entertain you and maybe even save you a little money. That's the Consumer Guide Car Stuff podcast, Sundays at 1 p.m. right here on WCPT AM 820.
This is Joan Esposito, and here at WCPT, we love pets. So much that we're spotlighting an adoptable, adorable dog or cat every month. So many deserving pets are waiting for their forever home. We've partnered with community shelters and our sponsors, Love for Dogs Pet Grooming and Mark Drugs, to talk about why rescue is best. It's all on Joan Esposito Live, Local and Progressive. See our current adoptable at WCPT820.com.
October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and Hawk Volkswagen is proud to support the Pink Heals Joliet chapter. The Pink Heals support women and their families, not causes, so all donations go directly to people here locally who are struggling. We'll be accepting donations all month long, so please help us support this wonderful organization. October is also an excellent time to buy a new Volkswagen. We've got 0% financing for 72 months available on new Volkswagen models. Save big on a huge selection of new Volkswagen models like Jetta, Tiguan, Atlas Cross Sport, and the all-new Taos. All in stock now and ready for immediate delivery. Hawk Volkswagen Joliet, number 1 in Illinois 5 years in a row. Located on Jefferson Street in Joliet or online at hawkvw.com. Available on select new Volkswagen models with approved credit is determined by Volkswagen Credit. See dealer for details. Number 1 claim based on 2016 through 2020 retail sales. Expired 11/1/21.
Hello, fellow progressives. Attorney Tony Moret here. You've been hearing from me for a few months now, and I've been hearing from you. As an estate planning attorney, I get a lot of questions. Estate planning can be confusing and sometimes a little scary. It's my job to guide you through the maze of paperwork, offer you options that best fit your family, and give you some peace of mind. The calls I've been getting from fellow WCPT listeners have been intelligent and thoughtful, exactly the kind of clients I cherish. Thank you for letting me draft your living trusts, wills, and protecting legacy for future generations. In my practice, facts matter, so advertising on WCPT is such a natural fit. Let me help you put together the right estate plan for your family, mindfully. Call me, Attorney Tony Moret, to schedule a free virtual consultation to keep all of us safe. 847-996-0496. That's 847-996-0496. Check out my website at moretlawoffice.com. Moret spelled M-O-R-E-E. And let's put your plan in motion.
I'm Israel Wright with National Gay and Lesbian Sports Hall of Fame. Welcome back to Out Chicago on WCPT.
Welcome back to Out Chicago. Scott Duffy. I love that it was the Sports Hall of Fame, LGBTQ Sports Hall of Fame, because I know nothing. Although I do know that the Astros are cheaters. Mm-hmm. The football hurts. Mm-hmm. And that the Sky as our WNBA champs. There we are. Thank you very much. Oh, you were able to find the applause for my sports things. Cool. I love that. Thank you. Thank you for the sports. There's more sports ball happening?
Yes, there is.
Baseball things?
Well, there's baseball. There's the Bears are playing your favorite quarterback, Tom Brady.
I know. I just hope that he's able to handle his balls okay.
I hope that they're not deflated.
I hope they're not deflated. I hope they're just tacky enough. If they're like too firm.
Right. He doesn't like
Tom
you know
Brady.
that about him.
I know how Tom Brady prefers to his balls, how to handle his balls.
He did get your attention a few years ago with Deflategate, or whatever they're calling it.
Deflategate, yeah. But he's very, very particular.
He is. He's very particular.
You got to make sure that when you're Tom Brady, that like the way the balls feel in your hand is very important. It's got to be perfect,
just right.
Got to be just
not
right.
too soft, not too firm.
No, and tacky.
And a little tacky.
He likes a tacky ball.
Mm-hmm.
There we are.
Glad you know
and
that
who
about
doesn't?
him.
Who doesn't? Really?
Well.
Okay, well, that's true.
Maybe
I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I don't want to meet them.
Okay.
I don't want to meet them if they don't enjoy a tacky ball.
Really? You don't want to meet me?
Okay, well, when you're out there throwing the pigskin around, you need a little.
That's true. I do.
Gripper.
It has to be just right when I'm throwing.
There we are. When you're throwing the ball around.
Yeah.
Anyway, there was a really good thing that happened this week.
Yeah.
The U.S. Department of Health and Human Services announced this week the nation's first out transgender 4-star officer across any of its 8 uniformed services of the United States. Yes, Admiral Rachel Levine, who serves as the HHS Assistant Secretary for Health and head of the U.S. Public Health Service Commission Corps, was ceremonially sworn in as a 4-star admiral.
Beautiful.
So cool. Admiral Levine now serves as the highest-ranking official in the U.S. PHS Commission Corps and its first ever female 4-star admiral. I think that there's some of the applause. Get some of the applause right there. Yes. Admiral Levine. I think that is awesome. That's awesome. In a statement, she said that this is a momentous occasion, and I'm both humbled and pleased to take this role for the impact I can make and for the historic nature of what it symbolizes. May this appointment be the first of many like it as we create a more inclusive future.
Congratulations, Admiral.
I think that's great.
It is. It's
Congratulations.
Wonderful news. Absolutely.
And then at the same time, we're dealing with Netflix, who they've had a wonky couple of weeks. They've been dealing with a lot of blowback from the Dave Chappelle special, The Closer. Closer. I was like, we all want closure.
We all need closure.
We just need closure. We need closure on this.
Closer is something else. I need to be a closer, but that's a whole other
That's
story.
a whole other thing. Always be closing.
Always
be closing. I always think of you. Glenn Ross. There's a shoe store in my neighborhood that I always feel like is the Glenn Ross.
I know which one it is. I know the owners.
Really?
Yes. They used to work out at my club.
Well, do you see
I always feel so pressured. In fact, I had to return a pair of shoes to this wonderful store. I do like the store for
I like the store
variety
too.
of stuff. But I was like thinking about it for like hours. Like, am I going to feel pressure when I return these?
Tell them to back off. I feel like, it's like you walk into a Shark Tank and it just feels like someone is going to get a set of steak knives and everybody else is going to lose their job. That's how I feel. Now, I also have another friend who goes to that same shoe store who's also like, that's called customer service. Like, she loves it. But
they do have
they're
good
great
customer service.
But like
they're high pressure too.
They're shoes.
Yeah, I know.
Anyway, how did we get there?
I don't know.
We just did because we need closure.
We need closure. And
Always
they're closers.
There we are. So anyway, there's been a whole big kerfuffle that's been going on at Netflix. There was a walkout on Wednesday in response to the special. Trans employees released a list of demands directed at Netflix leadership, which include greater investment in trans content and more editorial decision-making opportunities for LGBTQ workers. And I think that's fair, don't you? I think the biggest thing that's happening right now, and even Ted Sarandos, who's the co-CEO of Netflix, he admits having, he says that he quote unquote screwed up. Now
he did, yes.
So here, and again, just to clarify, here's where the whole here's where the I guess here's the rub, as it were. You have Netflix, who wants to be a very inclusive place, and they also don't want to deny free speech, especially when it comes to comedy.
Right.
Comedy, like that kind of blurred.
It's a slippery slope to deny free speech in comedy. But
absolutely,
yes.
absolutely. I think what they're saying is they're not saying don't let him say the things, because what he did say, he said there's like some pretty, transphobic and homophobic things and misogynistic things. He's, very much, he claims that he, identifies as a TERF, which is a trans-exclusive radical feminist. That means that only, biologically born women are women. And, there's a lot of things that are going that don't necessarily sit
well with a lot of people.
Yeah. And nobody is saying that he can't say that. I think the biggest issue is the fact that you have a platform like Netflix that is giving him that platform to say it. When that content does seem counterintuitive to what they profess to be their values.
What platform would be acceptable?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
I don't know either. I don't have an answer.
And here's Dave Chappelle. He's great. He's so smart. He is so funny. He just really is. I give mad respect, mad props to him. But I do think that he also has some stuff that is problematic and anti-trans and anti-LGBTQ. So I, as a consumer, don't watch it.
I told Scott, I was around a fun little party with all lesbians, like 12 of us, and I asked, has anybody seen it? And of course, everybody had an opinion or a little bit of an opinion and had heard about it. Not one had seen it. Not one.
Yeah. Well,
I'm still looking for someone that I know who has seen it.
And I think, there are several comedy boards that I can send you to. They have lots of opinions about it. But I guess the one thing that really, that is hitting me wrong, and I think it's also hitting a lot of the LGBTQ employees of Netflix, is the way that Ted, we'll call him Ted. Ted, the way he's saying that he does not see how anti-trans content leads to real life violence.
Yeah, because real hate speech is something that would create violence, and is the definition of some hate speech.
Putting out that hate, putting out that kind of speech,
you don't know how it's going to affect people.
You don't know how it's going to affect people,
true.
like we said. So I think that is the big takeaway from all of this kerfuffle. Is
it's an interesting one because of the free speech element of it.
And it's an interesting one because of free speech, but also, because of violence against the trans community in general. And when you have somebody as high profile, as beloved, as well followed, as Dave Chappelle saying things like that, it might not translate into let's go out and beat up some people, but it does kind of give almost an excuse.
It very well could, yes.
That is what I have to say about that. There we are. And we are at the end of another show.
And I'm going to see you in a couple of weeks.
I'll see you in a couple of weeks.
I'm going to go have some life experiences outside of my home and here in Chicago. So
go to Cincinnati.
I'll report back in a couple of weeks.
I know you are going to be gone. We're going to miss you.
I will be gone, and I'm going to miss you too. I'm going to have separation anxiety for sure, but I will be back.
No, you won't. You're going to be on a boat. You're going to be very,
I'm going
very
on a boat after Cincinnati.
Be very careful on that boat.
I will.
Wash and hands and masks.
They have precious cargo. There's Taj Mahal and some other older musicians. And,
Taj Mahal?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. Well, then go. Please do that.
Thank you.
And I want to thank all of our guests. Oh my gosh, I'm playing. Our guests, Shanta Narula, Zakia Najiba, Dumas O'Neill, and Ian DeMont Martin. Devin, thank you so much for running the show so beautifully. Paul, thank you for being social media just adequate as always. And I love that. Ella Miller, have fun on all of your cruises and your family reunions and everything. And I'm Scott Tuff, and until next week, stay proud.
When the news hits close to